So when I first got in touch, I think my relationship with food had kind of hit a all-time low. I had been kind of suffering with my relationship with food and exercise for a few years previous to joining your program. I think it's safe to say that my whole life was just completely controlled by food and exercise, and I ended up losing pretty much all connection, all of my social life, all of what life has to offer really, because I wanted to control my food intake and exercising and stuff like that. I had gone to the doctors once and I actually had a really terrible experience. I went there because I had actually lost my period and my mum was concerned about me having an eating disorder, but I left the doctors with the advice of eat more carrots, and obviously that's not the most helpful advice to be given. And then 2 years went by and my relationship with food had just deteriorated and got even worse, and I was so ill, weak. I had lost all sense of personality and I had just completely lost touch with who I was and had just really become my eating disorder and become just not the nicest person to be around. And so I went to the doctors again and I got referred to the NHS eating disorder services, and I had my first appointment there and I got admitted to hospital. And then after when I came out of hospital, I had weekly therapy sessions at the NHS treatment, and I didn't have the nicest of experiences in the NHS treatment. I felt a little bit like just another statistic. I was told that the treatment that I was going to be put on was, the highest rate of success with patients at my age. And I soon realised that that way of treatment just did not work for me. I think it was family-based treatment and it didn't work for me. And there was evidence that it really wasn't working for me. I was still kind of pushed to work that way and get therapy that way. And it just didn't really help. And I felt a bit like I was shamed a little bit. I didn't feel very supported. I felt like I was made to feel guilty about having my eating disorder, which again just did not help. And I ended up getting a lot worse actually while on that treatment. And so I discharged myself and began looking for private treatment. And I had quite a few Zoom calls with different places, but I just didn't feel very connected to any of them. And then my mum found your website, and honestly, from the moment I got on a Zoom call with you, I just felt instantly connected, and you spoke through your program and I just knew that that was the one for me, really.
So how did the program and working together change things? What helped?
Like I said, from the moment I met you, I felt instantly connected. I think what started that was the fact that you were so honest about your experiences as well, which just made me feel so connected to you, because at that moment in time, I felt like I wasn't understood, because it's so hard to understand an eating disorder when you're not in one. But when you share your experiences, I just feel so connected, because you understand, you are there, and you've been through these things that I'm going through, and you can relate to everything that I'm saying and make me feel so much less ashamed of the things that I'm going through. There was never any shame from you. All you done was validate my feelings and make me feel like I wasn't alone. Eating disorders are so lonely, and from the get-go, I felt supported by you. There was never a time where I had felt alone. I think throughout our time together, you wanted to get to know Erin. You didn't want to get to know the eating disorder, and you completely separated the two. You separated me from my eating disorder, and that just completely changed my whole prospect of recovery, because you put my needs first and you wanted my priorities to be seen and be heard. You made me feel like I could so much easily see what I wanted and what outcomes I wanted instead of my eating disorder outcomes. And it just made it so much clearer to me that, you know, I needed to listen to what Erin wanted and not the eating disorder. And you taught me so many tools and techniques that I could now rely on instead of relying on my eating disorder. And that just completely changed my recovery. You made it so personal. I never ever felt like another statistic. The NHS treatment, I had to stick with a treatment that didn't work for me, whereas in your program, I felt like if something didn't work, we could just so easily change it and tailor it to what I wanted. I never felt like I was in a program that didn't listen to my needs. I just felt so supported, never lonely, so understood, and that Erin's priorities were being put first.
You know, if there was someone sort of sitting on the fence and they weren't sure whether they should kind of begin their recovery journey or start the program, what would you tell them?
I think I would tell them that they are so worthy of meeting someone and reaching out for help from somebody who can completely understand what you are going through. You don't have to be alone in your recovery journey. There are so many people that have been where you are, and it's not shameful to reach out for help. And I just think if you do feel at war with yourself and lost, this program is designed by somebody who's been there and was the best decision that I've ever made. So please go for it and get the help that you need.
Erin, I would love to know, what is one thing that you will take with you from this experience for life?
I remember that you said to me that I was the master of my house. I was the master of my head. I am in charge of the guests that are coming in and out of my head and the thoughts that I'm hearing. I am the master of the guest house and I'm in control. And that just completely reframed my journey. This time last year when I came to you, I felt hopeless, and I'm this time feeling hopeful. I feel hopeful